Thank you, Speaker. My question is for the Premier. This morning it was revealed that all appeals in the Windstream NAFTA case are now over. The case has been won by Windstream, with taxpayers being on the hook for at least $28 million. In response to my question on October 17th about this issue, the Minister of Energy said, "Ontario is carefully reviewing the case in order to determine our next steps." While I say to the Premier the next step is going to be to cut a cheque. The federal government will have to pay up front. We realize that. But we all know that this mistake is the Premier's, and Ontarians will ultimately pay. Speaker, is the Premier prepared to apologize for this energy fiasco, be honest with ratepayers about the true cost of her latest mistake?
Thank you.
Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It's important to remember that at the early stage in development, the tribunal said, thank you very much, the decision was driven by genuine policy concern that was not sufficient scientific support for establishing an appropriate offshore wind project. And that's very important. The Leader of the Opposition was talking earlier about the need for evidence-based decisions, Mr. Speaker, and this is very much an example of it. The Ministry of Environment has been working very hard to review that. The consultant's work is coming in and should be released. I would certainly hope the member opposite would want to see this work through and see an evidence-based decision made and within the accordance of the law and the tribunal ruling. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Supplementary.
Speaker, decisions have been made. Speaker, this government made the wrong decision to build turbines in the Great Lakes. Then they signed contracts to have them built. And then, for political reasons to save Liberal seats, they cancelled the contracts. Now they've got to pay. And this is not only the $28 million for the court case, but the federal government had 10 lawyers on the case at a cost of $8 million. The provincial government, the Wynne government, had 20 lawyers on the case and refuses to reveal the cost of that legal team. Speaker, will the Premier today reveal the absolute total cost of the legal team so the people of Ontario know just how much this latest Wynne mistake is going to cost?
Seated, please. Thank you. Minister.
I want to be very clear, and I think folks should take a deep breath. When these turbines were proposed, there were in the world no offshore wind turbines in fresh bodies of water. No freshwater lakes had wind turbines. The decision was made by the Ministry of the Environment that work was needed to be done to do that. As you would know, Lake Ontario and Lake Erie are the two most stressed lakes in Ontario and likely in Canada, with highly fragile ecosystems, Mr. Speaker.
Member from Renfrew, Nipissing, Pembroke is warned. I'm going to stop trying to make sure things are even here. Minister.
So I would hope the member opposite would see it, since they argue for evidence-based decisions, that kind of research that's been done over the last 2 years is absolutely critical to making this decision and decide to proceed. The alternative is not to do.